Church. It's Pastor Chris coming to you on this beautiful late afternoon in the Caribou. Looks like we're not going to be able to get together again for a little while because of the whole coronavirus thing, and the province has handed down a mandate that bans meetings of people over 50. No, I'm over 50. It bans meetings of more than 50 people. So we're going to have to adapt, and that's why this is your first episode of what I'm going to call Mutant Church, which is what we're going to have to become. First thing I want to say to you is you're not alone. So I want to encourage you, while you may be self-isolating physically, don't isolate yourself completely. We need to find ways to connect through the unprecedented time that we are living through right now as a people, in fact, as a globe. So as a church, some of the things we're trying to do, we're going to have an increasing online presence. We're figuring out how to do that better. This video is one of those ways. We're going to be sending lots of information by email and other ways as well. We as well are going to look after those of our flock who are not able to access online communication, and we're going to hand deliver print material to them when we need to, and make sure that they're kept in the loop as well. Of course, everyone's got a phone, so don't be afraid to reach out, send a text, give a phone call to those people who need to be kept in touch. Some people have raised the question, are we facing persecution because we're not allowed to meet as a church? And I want to speak to that and say no, this is not persecution, at least not yet anyway. This is a shared experience with our whole society. Yesterday on St. Paddy's Day, bars were closed. They didn't want to close, but they did. Sports leagues have been shut down for some time. And so let me just ask you to consider this picture. When the Canucks get to go to the playoffs, but the church is still not allowed to meet, that would be persecution. Right now, it's not. So we're going to follow the mandates and the information that is coming down from our government, from our health authorities. Wash your hands, keep your distance, stay home if you've got any symptoms of COVID-19. That in mind, just think about this, however. Even though this is not a time of persecution, this may still be an attempt by Satan to divide us and isolate us. He loves to use any situation he can, including viruses, to be part of his strategy to isolate people, to keep them weak and underfed, or sometimes fed with falsehood. So let's not play into his hands during this time. The church is your family, and family finds a way to communicate. Let me give you some scripture to contemplate from Hebrews chapter 10. Here's some things that it says. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. Now, we are walking through the same thing that so many people in the world are walking through right now, but we hold to a different hope. And now's the time we can show the world what it looks like to hope in Jesus during an experience that we as Christians are walking through, as well as everybody else. It carries on and says, and let us continue or consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds. Consider literally means think up new ways to help people be encouraged to do the right thing and encourage while they're doing the right thing. I'm trying to think of new ways to adapt, to think about how I can spur one another on toward love and good deeds. I want to encourage you to think about new ways as well. Let's consider how we can spur one another on. And then finally it says, and not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another. So here's where it gets tough. How do we not give up meeting together? How do we get together? Well, again, we're going to have to adapt and change. The church has thrived through some incredibly tough environments over hundreds of years, and we will thrive through this as well. How can we get together? It might be in very small groups. It might be by necessity at some point only through an online connection, video conferencing, or a web chat. But there are ways, and we as a church leadership are exploring those things, and we're open to your suggestions, and we would encourage you to pursue alternate ways of continuing to meet together. So I'm doing something super uncomfortable right now by making this video. It's not my favorite thing to do. I feel awkward and weird doing it, and I know my first attempt is not going to be a great one, but I felt God giving me the nudge, and so I'm going to follow through. You know what? You can listen for God's voice during this time. You can be sensitive to his nudges. to do something courageous, to do something kind. In fact, he's not even given you a spirit that would make you fearful and selfish during this time, but a spirit of power, a spirit of love, and a spirit of self-discipline. I want you to encourage you to welcome that spirit in you. Just think of the stories of God's goodness, of God's power, of God's love that we will be able to tell when all this passes, and it will. I'll talk to you soon. Love you lots. Bye-bye for now.